Yeah. Alright. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another installment of Tony's Take. Shout out to Torrance Davis, by the way. Just had to, give my little bit of love there for the bit bag. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's get right into this topic. This one is a little bit kind of late and stuff because I just found out about it today. This was actually posted like last week from one site, but then they got it from this other site 2 weeks ago, right? About Xbox Scorpio's price, right? But I'm like, you know what? Let me give these dudes some content for the weekend before they're on your questions 127. So let's get into it, man. So HD Report, they put out an article on March 16th talking about how Project Scorpio could be $700, right? Reason I want to talk about this is because this is actually a little bit of a follow-up to a video I had made a while ago, actually not too long ago. It was around like December, right? Originals Tony's Takes on back on the Coalition channel, where I talked about the same thing. But the thing is, I was just speculating. These guys are speculating too. So, okay, based off what Phil Spencer was saying, right? He says that the Scorpio is going to be a premium console and is going to cost the price that you've seen other consoles cost before, right? Now, I know some of you guys are saying, but no console has ever cost $700. Wrong. 3DO was $700. Philips CDI were both $700, right? If you adjusted for inflation, that's $1,000 today. That ain't happening. Let me just get that, out there right now. That ain't fucking happening, right? So let's go with this. Will Scorpio be $700? And I'm also going to talk about what I think is going to happen, right? But, I'll get to that later. So let me just, grab some, little snippets here from the article here. So, and you can check it out down below, obviously, right? So they go, as we speculated at the time of that leak. Actually, let me go back. Project Scorpio is shaping up to be the most expensive video game console ever seen in 20 years. How expensive? That's a fascinating question that only got more interesting this week when it was leaked that Project Scorpio may be capable of native 4K streaming and gameplay recording right out of the box. All right, just on that, and this is a little bit of advice to HD Report, not trying to tell these guys how to do their job, but I gotta just, okay, if you're gonna talk about leaks and stuff, you gotta fucking link to it, man. Like, they have no links for this shit, right? But anyway, regardless of that, they go, as we speculated at the time of that leak, that impressive feat might require a piece of technology which typically retails somewhere in the $300, $400 range. While it's highly unlikely the full retail price of just a capture card is going to be tacked onto the price of Project Scorpio, it is yet another aspect of the system which suggests Scorpio's price might be dauntingly high. This is something we've talked about on Throwdown many times, right? Basically, and it's still confirmed too, Project Scorpio is going to have 6 teraflops of computing power, right? And as this article says, if you want that sort of horsepower, the graphics card's going to run around $350. Maybe $400, but around $300 or $350, right? So that's just the graphics card by itself, right? What about the processor, right? If you're gonna go, because they're speculating that this thing's gonna have the Ryzen processor in there or a variation of it, that's another $350, right? So, the price just keeps going up, and then there's other shit that comes into play, obviously, so the price of Scorpio, if it's gonna deliver all the shit that it's promising, it's gonna be pretty hefty, because I know some Xbox guys are, going around saying that, oh, it's gonna cost $400. Bro, no. If this thing's gonna have as much juice as Microsoft claims, it's going to be north of $400. It's going to cost more than the Pro for sure, and the article actually speculates that to build a PC with the same power that the Scorpio is touting, this is uncompromised 4K, 60 frames a second, all that, it's going to be a rig that's going to cost $2,000, right? This is something we've talked about on Throwdown too, where we kind of speculated, it's like, okay, if the Scorpio is going to be, if it's going to be capable of all this shit, it's going to be minimum $1,200, right? So these guys are saying minimum, or at least between $1,500 and $2,000. But at the same time, you got to understand that building a console is different than building a PC. So price won't be that exorbitant. No console guy is going to pay $2,000. That's insane, right? But at the same time, it's going to be north of $400 for sure. Basically the article just says they speculate it's going to be $700, right? Here's the thing. I doubt that, but I could see where they're coming from, right? And also, just scaling back a little bit, right? The GTX 1080 Ti was recently announced, right? That thing, for the most part, not for every game, but for the most part, delivers uncompromised 4K 60 frames a second, right? The graphics card alone is $700. Now, obviously, that's NVIDIA, Microsoft using AMD, so there's going to be a cost difference, but it gives you a ballpark of how much money is required in order to, have a system, or at least a graphics card that could output that sort of juice, right? So that's what's going on there. So very interesting. So this is a part of the video where I want to talk about my personal speculation. I believe that, and I said this in the previous video too, there's going to be 2 SKUs of the Scorpio, right? There's going to be one at $500. That's the basic one. Maybe a terabyte of hard drive space, no game, very bare bones, right? Maybe it's going to be missing a couple of USB connections. Who knows, right? Then you could have The $600 one, right? That's the as I said, the put up or shut up version, right? It's gonna have 2 terabytes. And I think people have speculated about this too. So 2 terabytes of, you know, storage space, maybe some more connectors in there, maybe a game, right? It's gonna have a bunch of shit in there, right? So that's what I think is gonna happen, right? Even though 500 and 600 are very, very pricey, again, look back to the PlayStation 3, people still bought them. You know, and remember, Scorpio is not made to be a console for consumers or general consumers. It's made for the hardcore dudes, right? The super guys. They're the ones going to be buying this shit, right? And even Phil Spencer said, hey, don't expect the Project Scorpio to be our biggest seller here. It's going to be Xbox One S. Makes sense because Xbox One S is, you know, $250, just like the PlayStation Slim. Again, you know, going back to PlayStation, PS4 Pro is not going to be the highest selling PlayStation. It's going to be the Slim, right? Even though, you know, us, we're the hardcore guys, right? We buy this shit. But most consoles are bought by casuals, right? And that means they're not trying to pay a lot of money. They want to buy the cheapest console they can, right? So that's what's going on there. Scorpio is not going to be for those people, right? Because I know there's also guys saying that the Scorpio is going to turn things around. It's going to help Microsoft dominate again. No, it won't. Not at that price, you know? It's not happening. And again, PlayStation 4 was a little bit of a fluke in this case, but for the most part, the most powerful system does not mean that it's going to be the winner, right? Again, PlayStation 4 was a bit of a fluke there, but generally the weaker console is the one that wins. Look at the Wii, right? That destroyed the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, right? And that was like a shit console, basically. You go back, PlayStation 2, it couldn't hang with the GameCube and Xbox. It murdered them, you know? You know, don't expect the Scorpio to be wildly successful just because it has more power. That's not going to happen. So yeah, these rumors are interesting about, you know, the Xbox costing $700, the Scorpio costing $700, but I personally don't put any stock in it. Quote me on this: $500 for one SKU and $600 for the other SKU. And that's that. All right, I hope all you guys have a great weekend. Please let me know what you think about this video. Hit like on it, hit unlike if you want, and comment as always. Once again, I was Tony, and I'll see you next time. Keep it gaming, people. Later.